Welcome to another Meraki Monday. I'm Dan Stewart here from the Ingram Micro Business Transformation Center. And actually, as you see behind me, I'm actually in our Business Transformation Center in the office today. Glad to be here and back in the office a little bit. Joining me, I have a returning guest, one Chris Meindl. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
You may remember Chris from, what do we do, MSPs?
Yes. You helped me set up my MSP organization view in the dashboard. And, for those of you who don't know, I've just, been recently certified CMNA, and I've been trying out all the new toys, my MX64W. And the next step for me is trying to install and play around with Meraki Systems Manager licenses. So, I was talking to Dan, and sort of the sentiment of mobile work and hybrid work, that we're seeing that transition take place here at Ingram Micro. I thought it would be good to freshen up on some of the options that we have to manage some of these mobile devices, right? Whether it be a phone, an iPad, a laptop, and Meraki has an easy solution, right? A one license option that we have to purchase to do it. So with my 100 freebies, I thought we'd get started today and take a look at some of the options we have.
So Systems Manager, is that why we have this slide up here with all those functionality, Chris?
Yes, I believe so. We're on top of it. You're ahead of the game.
We are.
Spoiler
I
alert.
knew what we were talking about here. So Chris did a great intro there. We are going to talk Systems Manager. We'll do this more in the show and tell fashion of our demo, actually using Chris to set up one of his devices. And we'll actually walk through most of these 9 different pillars or functionality boxes here of the Systems Manager application within Meraki in a pretty brief view here from what we can do in our demo. Obviously, we're going to just scratch the surface of what Systems Manager can do in just keeping this episode brief. But hopefully in that time, we can see some of the power and functionality that this application can have, whether it's tied into an existing Meraki infrastructure, or maybe Systems Manager is the only Meraki solution you have because you are looking for a robust endpoint mobility manager software, and Systems Manager hit all those requirements for you. So with that, we're going to take a look at most of these feature highlights and put them to action with Chris in his live demo. So Chris,
Okay.
take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. So really, like, the first thing, that, I was looking at here was, how do I get this set up, right? How do I even get started? And, similar to some of the things with, functionality within the dashboard, is this not always apparent where you have a tab or a selection to just get started with System Manager. In fact, at first, I didn't even see my licenses applied here. So what I decided to do is, instead of combining, the mobile management into my home network, I decided to go in and create a brand new network just so I can isolate this and play around with it on its own. So let's take a look at doing that. Now right here, the network type, it gives you a bunch of different options. And because I'm only going to be using this network to manage devices, I'm going to go down and select EMM Systems Manager. It doesn't give me too many options to play around with here, so just give it a name, create that network. And it's going to open up a bunch of different options, right? So I'm still going to have my drop down here to go back and forth between my home and my mobile management network. But just for the sake of this demo, we're going to stay within this network. And again, we're getting this fancy new tab here, the Systems Manager. So first and foremost, and probably for me, wasn't apparent exactly how to get started here, but giving me the options to enroll my devices. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to actually be enrolling my iPhone. So one of the first steps that we need to get started is actually go in here, and because Apple has specific terms and conditions, they require a specific certificate or authorization if we're going to have any other software or mobile device manager pushing notifications or managing that device. So the first thing we need to do is download the CSR file. So they really, I mean, to be honest, they really do walk you through. Really the tough part for me was getting started, just getting that network created to get me into these options, but they kind of do walk you through the steps pretty easily here, right? So downloading this, you see it's already downloaded on my computer here. The next part is actually going into Apple's portal and going in. What I use to sign in here is the Apple ID that I use just for my personal phone, Apple Music, whatever it is. So we're already here and logged in. So what I did is I previously created a certificate, right? And you see that it's identifying the service as the mobile device management, vendor Meraki. And I did this yesterday in preparation for the call today. So we're good to go. It is active. So all I need to do is download a copy of this, and then I can kick back into my dashboard and go ahead and upload that certification to give the Meraki software authorization to manage and push those certifications down to my Apple device. So let's go ahead and open that. We will save that. You see here, it's loading everything in. And then there we go. So now we're good to go and add devices. So a couple different options here, right? You can go right into a mobile browser. What I decided to do actually is download the iOS app right onto my device. And wish I could show you this, but it is actually pretty simple. All you do, it's only giving me one button here. I can either scan the QR code, or what I'm going to do here is manually type in the network ID, which is 109.285.0984. Only option on my phone, since you can't see it, is enroll this device. Can't do anything else. And what it's going to do on my phone, it's going to enroll the device, but it's also going to give me an option to download a specific Meraki management profile onto my phone. So I am doing this quickly right now. Just give me a second here.
And while Chris is doing that, just a couple other things you can see on the screen here is that in Chris's world here, he's really doing it as a personal standpoint with his home environment network with his devices. If you had a larger, more corporate environment, you would have a different ability to use more of a enrollment string, or you can do an Apple configurator or a enterprise license option, or a more corporate profile you can apply to your environment as well. So there's many different ways depending on the count or size of your deployment that you're looking to enroll. Right now, we're doing it very much as a one-to-one style. Otherwise, we can do it as a very much bulk upload of devices or enrollment string we can send out via email or text any device that we want to have involved in this type of onboarding profile.
Okay. All right. What I realized is that our LTE service in the transformation center is not as good as I thought. All right, so I got it downloaded here. And then what I'm going to do is it should actually pop up right when you go into your settings on your iPhone, right? It's going to have a tab called Profile Download. And you can go in and just click the install button, enter your passcode, and it will install that profile right on your phone so that you're able to go in and manage that device. So I'm waiting for that to go in, and then once it's added, which is in the process right now, we are going to click over to our so we have my devices added here, so I can click in to see some of the bells and whistles, and I'm going to kick it over to Dan to walk me through some of the features and functionality we got here.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So it looks like we have the device onboarded right now, which is great. We can see that it's an iOS device. We can see what type of device it is, who's it's owned by, and the fact that you also are in the office today by your location on our Worley Drive address. You can see we actually are in the building, and that is our building right there. So we know that this device is in sync with our systems manager. We know where it is and what it's doing and device level functionality. If you scroll down a little bit more here on the screen, now we get to see a little bit of the things we can do on a per device level. Device security is one of the first things you can do. So again, we can talk about things if the device was lost or compromised for some reason. You can remotely lock the device, clear the passcode, erase the device, wipe the device, or effectively just unenroll it if you didn't want to manage it any longer. This can be done here on a per device basis, and then many other settings you can do on the left-hand side there based on data. You can send a notification, operate the operating system update functionality. So a lot of different things we can do within the device by device level going on in this view here, which is not bad, right? So it's got a couple more functionality than you can do by you being in the presence of your physical phone. Let's go into more of a general view of things we can do across our organization. So mousing over Systems Manager, yep. Under Manage, let's go to Settings. Now, right now, this is your first enrollment of a device, so let's add a profile. Now, we can be specific to say any device we want to apply this profile to, or just one that is tagged towards Apple devices, and it'll give us more of a fine-tuned list. But for now, let's keep it on default profile just so we can see everything that Systems Manager has available to us. Right, give it a good name. You can skip the description if you want. And again, we have a little bit more granular controls to how we want to apply this policy. We can do it to all devices. We can do the scope to devices with a certain tag. Meraki is very much built into a tag methodology. So if we have devices named just iOS or just iPhone or just cell phone or just Windows or just Android, you get the idea. Of anything you want to tag, you can apply this specific setting to things with just a tag or just a specific operating system if you so chose. And then you can start really carving out how granular you want to be with some of these functionality settings. For our case, let's just keep it at all devices, and then we can see Chris's device is in there. Nothing's installed yet, but we know that it is available to be manipulated by this type of profile. So we'll hit save, and we can click on the profile that was newly created. And now we can go ahead and add some settings to that profile. By clicking on the Add Settings button, we now see that we have all these settings. If Chris, you want to just scroll through and kind of just give us a look at any setting that we can do applied to our device. This can be a hardware device level setting. It could be a software setting, and you can further fine tune that by clicking on the specific operating system. In this case, iOS will give you a trigger for things that are just specific to iOS. And it will also correlate it what might also be available on subsequent operating systems. If we move through Android, you'll see that there's still a good amount of settings, but smaller settings or fewer settings than there were on the iOS platform. One, because iOS is very much a very standardized operating system, and Cisco and Apple have a great partnership between them. Samsung and Cisco also have a partnership, and we're seeing more and more Android functionality come out, plus Windows and some Chrome OS functionality as well. But for our purposes, we are on an iPhone for Chris's environment. Let's go into the restriction setting. That's probably the most frequently used functionality. And if we click here, we can go in and see, again, if you want to scroll through the entirety of the list, all the restrictions we can put on the device from both a hardware, software, and control functionality, again, at a macro level across any of our devices that were under this profile. We can easily, with one click, enable or disable a function that would be in line with our corporate or home type policy. One of the ones I like to do is the camera, because if you take this into a corporate or school type environment and you hand out tablets or phones, and you know there's going to be a built-in camera, which there is on every device nowadays, maybe we don't want that to be available in our space. So we can turn the camera setting off, we can save that profile, and now we know that when anybody is adopting this profile across our devices, that camera functionality will not be available on that device. Good thing for compliancy's sake. Chris, obviously you can go through here and look at any of the settings that you want to play with, but for sake of time, we're just kind of going through and showing off what might be available.
Sure.
We can add more settings if you want to go through that again. And this profile can keep adding different settings to our environment. Maybe a specific passcode policy, maybe a specific Wi-Fi setting, which I'll cover in our transformation network over here. But you get the idea. You can add more and more controls, more and more of these policies. Chris, you can add one that might suit your fancy here.
Right. I like this. Yeah. Auto lock.
Perfect.
Right. Or, hey, if you do lose a device and somebody's trying to get some failed attempts with your passcode, right, you can wipe it right automatically without having to manage it. So
That's
so
aggressive.
it's very dangerous. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be doing that with my own phone, just in case. I have two young kids, hammering the keys all day. So, so very cool, Dan. Appreciate you walking us through that.
So now with that there, and we can go back to our profiles list.
Okay, we're gonna go
Settings. Yep,
back.
you're right there.
There we go.
Perfect. And now we can see that this profile now has that payloads, a little icon for restrictions. And the more and more things you apply, the more targeted, you can get a very descriptive list of things that are out there in the wild for this environment.
Perfect.
Cool. Chris, I'm going to take the reins back again on my side
Sure
here.
thing.
And we're going to take a look at another setting we can do within a environment that we have. And I'm doing this on our separate setting because in our environment, we have a separate firewall from our access point. And Chris, in your environment, you have an MX64 wireless, correct?
Wireless, that's right. Yep. Currently, I do not have any type of MR in my deployment.
So with the built-in wireless settings on an MX firewall appliance, it's relatively limited to what you can do in relation to the wireless settings and functionality in comparison to a traditional or standalone access point in the MR wireless family from Meraki. So since our environment does have a bevy of wireless access points of the MR variety, one thing I want to show you is the ability to go and create a specific network that we've called Sentry for Systems Manager that we can go in here. And if we look at the settings, we can go in and create this network that'll be open enrollment for the time being. And then under the splash page functionality, we actually are going to use Systems Manager Sentry Enrollment. And I'll little mouse over the little information icon so you can read what we're saying here. That with this enrollment, when any device wants to gain access to this specific network, let's say this was the only broadcasting network in our environment, you'll have to have a systems manager installation and logged into our network profile environment. So we know that our office with this profile, I will have to have my device with systems manager enrolled in my Meraki environment that's running systems manager here in order to use this specific wireless environment. If you don't have systems manager installed, it'll grant a splash page that'll take you to a notification to say, hey, you haven't enrolled yet, or you don't have systems manager installed, take me to the App Store or Play Store accordingly to install that on my environment. I can be very specific to which network this is going to be allowed in, which is going to be the one that has our systems manager capability. We can be very targeted to which devices we want this to be acknowledged for. And in my case, I'm going to have any device that sees this network and wants to get on it is going to be granted access only with systems manager regardless of which operating system they may be on. So another way we can tie a Meraki Systems Manager platform with a Meraki access point now can use the two together to allow us an easy onboarding functionality between our two different elements, bringing together to create one style of solution. One thing I do want to highlight in our network, we actually did bring the Systems Manager functionality from within our one network view. So we can have all of our hardware components along with Systems Manager in our setup. So we don't have to bounce between two different networks like Chris did for his home environment. Perfectly fine either way you want to do it, but just kind of want to showcase that we can do that right from our single network across the board. One other thing we can do is create a wireless security profile. And I've already created this profile. I've actually called it Sentry Wi-Fi. And in our settings, we can actually go through here and understand how we want this profile to be enacted. And on this profile, we can understand that we want this configuration to be in Sentry mode. on our specific wireless network, on this specific SSID, which we just showed you, and then automatically join this device into our environment. This is another way we can take advantage of the Meraki Systems Manager. If we wanted to use the Sentry enrollment, that's great. Otherwise, we can just say, hey, I want to manually put in my environment capabilities, and maybe that SSID will be something tied to Meraki that I want to go through and set up automatically as devices come in with this profile. They don't have to worry about setting up their wireless network and their wireless passkey and all those different things. We don't want to broadcast that to users. We want to control that for them. So we can create the wireless profile on their behalf. We know they have Systems Manager installed. We'll create that identity for them to log into our environment. And again, as they roam into our facility, they'll see the network, their Systems Manager will acknowledge it, and they can be onboarded right from there as well. Or again, like we had the Sentry mode, even creating that more secured environment right from it within our space. So that's a really high level view of things we can do with Meraki Systems Manager. Chris was gracious enough to show us how to onboard a device, find the device settings, go through some policy functionality, and then we can look at furthering that with an integration to Meraki Wireless, some Sentry mode as well. A lot more things we can unpack with Systems Manager. More than happy to uncover those if you reach out to us at the Ingram Micro Business Transformation Center. Until then, thanks for watching.